Hello there and welcome. In this video I got you some advanced tips and tricks for GRAV shipbuilding. This video is meant for people who are already a little bit in the ins and outs of the whole topic and are looking for ideas, plans, how to make your ship functional, including all the things that you need, and a couple of tips and tricks that I discovered on the side. So, number one. When it comes down to the interior design of your ship, you have a lot of freedom. There's only one thing that has to be steel GRAV ship hull, and that is the outside. Inside of the ship, as you see here, I went here with steel walls. You could build whatever you want. The main thing is that only the outer hull of your ship needs to be steel GRAV ship hull, and after that, you have a lot of creative freedom how to make things happen. Don't think that you are fixed in anything. You can also put new floorings on the GRAV ship substructure. The GRAV ship substructure is more like a floor that you put on the ground, and then you can put other floors on top of it because it is basically the ground, the earth of your spaceship, if that makes any sense. So you can put a layer on top of a layer, which is pretty nice. Apart from that, there's lots of things that we're going to cover in this video. I just wanted to point out because I severely misunderstood that when I started out with GRAV ships. So number two, Vac Doors. Vac Doors are pretty interesting things. For one, they keep temperature and oxygen inside. The really amazing thing about that is they can therefore also be used for heat traps. So in this corridor here, the temperature would be contained if I'd be putting in a fire there. The corridor is of course way too short to utilize it as a weapon. I just wanted to put it down here as an example. With a long corridor with two Vac Doors in between, you can create really vicious heat traps because, you know, these are, unlike regular doors, nothing that needs to open and close. They're more like a energy screen that you can pass. So, in other words, you can utilize vac barriers even as a security measure for your own ship. Let me know what you can cook up. I have experimented a little bit with it. Very interesting stuff, but nothing that I was able to implement meaningfully in my ship design without making it look horrible. Anyways, let's move on over to number three. Shelves are your best friends. So in this ship, I have no single dedicated space for storage because everything can work with shelves. Storage rooms, which I usually put into colonies, I try to avoid that in spaceships because, you know, every single tile is on high demand basically, and shelves are therefore ideal. They stack more things on one tile and should be utilized wherever you can on your ships. If you are into modding, I can really recommend storage mods that give you better storage facilities and whatnot. There's really a couple of things out there. Look for them if you're interested. Besides that, I think that dedicated storage spaces in spaceships are hard to put in, and you can use your corridors, as you see here, secondary for storage sake. Well, at the end of the day, it's all your decision how you do it. I just wanted to point on out that I have never ever used shelves so rigorously since, as in Odyssey, you know. Alright, number four. Defensive options. So when it comes down to your spaceship, you should note that raiders want to go on in there and destroy everything, just like they do with your colony. There's not much of a difference there. Therefore, try to have an area of your spaceship with it, which is either already a defensive structure, this here could be filled with traps, and or build a defensive enclosure around your spaceship. On this map, I did land a little bit unfavorable, but as you see there, yeah, the map didn't really give us a lot of room to build a base around. But especially when your spaceship is still in the makings and you don't have that many GRAV core extenders, this ship is running with 3, so you will eventually not have the capacity to make a defensive structure inside your ship happen. That is when I usually just build an enclosure around my graph ship wherever I land to make life for raiders as difficult as possible. Here you have a lot of options. You can use traps. I really am in love with hunter drones. Just keep in mind that they explode your spaceship too in parts. And here you see just a simple thing where we can use two people here, bring up some barricades here, and or tank them melee-wise here. Whatever you do, consider that you want to have one or two choke points in your spaceship where you can defend yourself from attackers or take measures to move the conflict outside if your spaceship is just not fit for conflict inside. It is okay if that is not ever the idea of your ship design, but you should be aware of the fact that combat will still be steered towards your ship and you need to handle that. I personally am exploring more and more ideas about kill boxes on board. That is a work in progress project, so chime on in the comment section if you have a few thoughts there too. So number 5, keep everything inside your spaceship as compact as possible. So here every corridor is really narrow. Wherever it wasn't narrow, I filled the spaces with shelves, like I talked about before. The only wider space, it's only 2 on 2 after all, I use for defensive purposes. Every workshop should also be compactified, as the apartments should be. Here I wasted a little bit of space for design's sake. The tailor bench and the machining table could be in the same room to save material for the tool cabinets, but you get the idea. Everything should be really tried to be on a minimized scale, because you will quickly notice how many things you want to fit on your ship and how quickly the substructure points are used up. Therefore, keep it small. Keep everything as small as you can, design it and bear with it. This is really, really helpful because it allows you to do just more on your ship. This ship here, with the compactifications that I did, gets most things done on 3 GRAV core extenders. We even have a small hydroponics here, just 5 basins, but it is okay. And yeah, you get the idea. So number 6, power bottlenecks and what you can do about that. On this ship, a big portion of what we do is being collected by solar panels. And as you see, it is really a big portion of our ship by itself. It also is a big part that we need to defend, and so on and so forth. All parts that yield permanent electricity, like vanometric power cells, are excellent. Anything that is just passively creating electricity for you, mechanoids sometimes yield power cells too. This is what you want to have for your ship. This is prime loot that makes you save a lot of space. Another honorable mention goes to the chem fuel generator. These bad boys do provide a pretty steady supply of power. I mean, it is not as big as other suppliers, but the main takeaway here is your ship needs the chem fuel anyways to fly, so these guys can be an excellent backup if your solar panels are for whatever reason not providing. All in all, power is one of the biggest eaters of room in your graph ship designs. Therefore, whenever I play around graph ships, I realized quickly that all of the artifacts and items that you can get that make power more compact are absolutely in high demand as a graph ship captain. Alright, let's move on to number 7, which is a similar topic, hidden conduits and batteries. So every ship that I use needs batteries because, you know, if you're not using chem fuel generators that provide constant energy, you will be bound to the day and night cycle and so on and so forth. For many of you, it is already common knowledge, and it's not so much an Odyssey thing, but I am a long-term player of Rimworld, and I was shocked when I heard that hidden conduits do no longer provide the ZD event. So, in case you are smarter than me and you're like, come on, what are you talking about? Everybody knows that. I'm very sorry for stealing your time. But for me, this was really important news, and for graph ships, I find it doubly important to talk about it, because in a compact environment, every fire is a real severe security hazard. Most ships that I designed have no good ways and means to valve out high temperatures. This is an extra bonus point that you can get into your designs, by the way. So in short, when someplace a fire would escalate, this would be really, really dangerous because the temperature is hard to even out. Long story short, hidden conduits prevent random fires happening on your ship and should be used everywhere because they're just the best conduits, especially for a GRAV ship. Number 8, quality matters. So as you see here, I have built very, very small bedrooms. This is something which will make your people unhappy unless you have people that are specifically adapted to that lifestyle. For any person different than that, high construction values yield high value furniture. This is what you want for your GRAV ship. Ideally, you want to have your furniture as pompous and valuable as possible, because we will never really have the room to expand unless you do a hotel ship. Then forget whatever I say. But you get the idea. The other thing is high value flooring is really excellent to make the dream happen too, because high value flooring increases the value of the room, increases the perception of the colonist towards the room. Profit. What also pays out is to have a little bit of extra room, like here, for pieces of art that you can put down. Long story short, because room is so scarce, most of your locales will be cramped. To circumvent that, quality of furniture makes people happier and prevents mood breakdowns. Number 9, secondary exits. So something that I want to stress out here, back doors are not safe. Back doors need a door in front of them to make sure that you will be not inviting your invaders to just walk into your door. This is important. The other thing is your spaceship should always have a primary entrance. So for example, here, this is that one with only one mistake that I want to fix. That door needs to be held open. Otherwise the AI won't be knowing where to enter my ship. One main entry. Really important, because this is basically the same concept as with any kill box. You want to funnel the AI elsewhere. But secondary exits should always be closed by a door. Simple logic. Most of you that are playing Rimworld for a longer period of time know it already, but it is important to stress it out here. AI only realizes a door is a door if it is opened in their vicinity. If a door is not opened in their vicinity, it is the same as a wall. Therefore, your secondary exits should only be used when the enemy can't see it, and should always be kept closed when attacks happen. But you should have secondary exits which are not back barriers. So for example here, this is what I wanted to show you here. These two doors, we could be also using them to valve out heat, like I said. Keeping these two doors here open would then depressurize the entire ship, which would be pretty dangerous in space. But you know, you get what I want to say. It is important that you have the option, because otherwise, Vac Doors, they don't release heat either. So there's that. But you can't just turn them off to use them also to depressurize the ship. I don't like that too much, though. That being said, let's move on over to number 10. Temperature management and oxygen made easy. So on this ship, I have used a couple of oxygen pumps, and here 8 of them, and they're all spread on the floor here. The rest of the ship is just connected with vents, and this is all this ship needed to keep it completely pressurized. The other thing is, in space you need a little bit of temperature management. I went here for a mixture of a spread temperature management, 2 rooms which are warmer, so we have rooms that are for emergencies, naked people or whatever, and the rest of the heaters are standing in the corridors to just spread warmth over the ship. This ship manages this way to maintain On average 8 to 12 degree on the corridors and 22 degree on the bedrooms here and the hydroponics. The hydroponics always needs extra warmth because space. The only thing that I don't have in here are coolers. These should be fit in somewhere too. When you want to do coolers, there's one nice little trick that you can do. Small rooms like these, for example, can be unroofed and can be used to de-valve heat as well. This is one thing that I forgot or didn't manage to cramp in here into that design, but you can use small little rooms which have no roof, which can be ideally used to depressurize either the ship or be the dead end for your coolers, which can also cool down your ship if necessary. But I've made the experience cooling down your ship is only necessary when you are experiencing a heat wave while the ship is landed somewhere. Apart from that, usually your ship is only going to cold, therefore heaters are way more important than coolers. With the coolers, it's a little bit more finicky to install them, but one thing is very, very important. Don't build coolers on the outside of your ship. If raiders see them, they will bash them and your entire ship will depressurize out of that. Therefore, coolers need to be designed into the interior of your ship. And like I said, small spaces like these with no roof can be used to make the heat go away that the coolers produce. Alright, I hope these things will help you out in designing your spaceship. As per usual, there's so much more to be said. I am working on other topics for GRAV ships in the meantime, like kill boxes on board or late game ideas for different spaceships. Let me know in the comment section what you would be interested in to watch. And of course, leave your own ideas. Leave a like, leave a subscribe. Consider supporting the channel via Ko-fi, the link is downstairs below, or whatever method tickles your fancy. Ko-fi just takes the least of your donation and funnels it directly to me and my family. Many thanks to all of you who watched this video, and many thanks to all of these supporters, and a lot of thanks for watching this video up until the very end. Thanks for taking that time, and see you next time.